This is an Indian FTR 1200, and it is one of the few remaining brand new FTRs left. Sadly, in 2024, Indian under Polaris decided to stop production of one of their most standout motorcycles. And whether you loved it or criticized it, the FTR was never born. This bike was born from dominance. From a race machine that absolutely dominated the competition in American flat track, it was nearly unbeatable at the track. But on the street, that story wasn't so simple. The FTR arrived with huge hype, inspired by a championship-winning race bike. Promising flat track attitude in a street legal package, it looked aggressive, it sounded incredible, and it had torque everywhere. But it also had an identity crisis. Early criticism, slow sales, and eventually, a racing band that changed everything. Today, we're looking back at the short, complicated history of a motorcycle that was almost untouchable on dirt, but struggled to find its footing on the pavement. This is the story of the Indian FTR. Before the FTR was a street bike, before it was controversial, before it was discontinued, it was a statement. To understand the statement, we have to rewind when Indian motorcycle was revived under Polaris in 2011. Polaris didn't just buy a name, they bought one of the most historic American motorcycle brands ever created. But heritage only gets you so far. At the time, Indian's lineup was built around big cruisers, chiefs, baggers, and touring bikes. They looked beautiful and they honored tradition. But they weren't winning anything. And in American motorcycling culture, racing still matters. Polaris understood something important. If Indian was going to be taken seriously again, especially against Harley-Davidson, they needed credibility. Not nostalgia, but credibility. And there is one battleground that made perfect sense: flat track. Why flat track, you ask? Well, flat track racing is deeply American. It's raw, high speeds on dirt ovals, brakes sliding inches apart. It's also historically tied to both Harley and Indian. And in the mid-2010s, the premier class in American flat track was ready for disruption. So Indian didn't tweak an existing street bike. They didn't modify a Scout and call it good. They built a purpose-built race machine from scratch. In 2016, Indian unveiled the Indian Scout FTR750. It wasn't a marketing exercise, it was a 750cc liquid-cooled V-twin built specifically to win under AFT rules. No lights, no emission compromises, no street legality concerns, just performance. It was compact, it centralized mass perfectly, it was engineered purely for traction and drive off the corner. And almost immediately, it worked. Led by riders like Jared Mees, the FTR750 started stacking wins. And not just occasional wins. We're talking multiple championships, consistent podium sweeps, seasons where Indian completely controlled the field. Harley's long-running XR platform struggled to keep pace. Other manufacturers tried to respond, but for several reasons, the FTR 750 was the bike to beat. And in racing, perception becomes reality. Indian wasn't just back, they were dominant. Now here's where things get interesting. Indian suddenly had something they hadn't had in decades, a modern race bike that was winning. And in today's market, racing success is content gold. I mean, think about it. You have a visually stunning dirt track machine winning championships against Harley in a very American racing series. From a branding perspective, this was perfect. And it planted a seed for what would eventually become this bike. Because once you dominate the track, the next question is obvious. What if we build a street version? The FTR was dominating American flat track. Indian had momentum. They had headlines. They had Harley on the defensive. Now they needed something customers could actually buy. In 2017, Indian unveiled the FTR 1200 custom concept at EICMA, and it stopped people in their tracks. This thing looked like a street-legal flat tracker that was ripped right off the podium. High pipe, minimal bodywork, tracker stance, number plates, and gold wheels. It didn't look like a cruiser. It didn't look like anything else Indian was building. It looked aggressive, modern, unapologetic, and most importantly, it looked real. It wasn't some wild, unbuildable concept with mirrors removed and no emissions equipment. It looked like something that could actually hit production. And the response? Overwhelmingly positive. For the first time in decades, people were talking about Indian in the performance bike conversation. Fast forward to 2018, Indian confirmed it. They were building it. In 2019, the production Indian FTR750 hit dealerships. And on paper, it looked promising. 1203cc liquid-cooled V-twin, around 120 horsepower, 87 pound-feet of torque, steel trellis frame, fully adjustable suspension on the S and higher models, ride modes, traction control, wheelie mitigation, and a full TFT display. This wasn't retro tech hiding behind vintage styling. It was modern, and crucially, it wasn't a modified Scout. Yes, it shared some architecture with the Scout engine, but it was heavily reworked. New heads, revised internals, different tuning, high rev ceiling. Indian wanted this to feel like a performance platform, not some parts bin exercise. But here's where Indian made a bold, probably a little risky decision. Instead of building a pure naked sport bike with 17-inch wheels, they leaned into the flat track aesthetic. So the early FTR came with a 19-inch front wheel, an 18-inch rear wheel, a tall, dirt-inspired stance, short rear fender, and minimal bodywork. It looked like a dirt oval machine with turn signals, and visually, they nailed it. Park one next to a Ducati Monster, the FTR looks rebellious, American, different. Initial reviews were enthusiastic. Journalists loved the torque delivery, the character of the V-twin, the styling, and the exhaust note. It wasn't sterile, it had attitude. And at the time, competitors like the Ducati Monster 1200, Yamaha MT-09, and the KTM 1290 Super Duke R were defining the naked bike segment. The FTR didn't try to copy them, it tried to carve its own lane, and that's admirable, but carving your own lane is risky. To make the FTR street legal, some engineering compromises were inevitable. The fuel tank, well, it isn't where you think it is. Most of the fuel sits underneath the seat to maintain this flat track silhouette. Cool for mass centralization, not so cool for fuel capacity. Range wasn't great. The tall 1918 wheel setup looked authentic, but it limited aggressive street tire options. The suspension felt more at home soaking up uneven pavement than carving apexes. And that's when the first real question started to form. Was this a street bike inspired by flat track? Or a flat track inspired bike trying to survive on the street? The FTR launched with hype, heritage, and serious racing credibility behind it. It looked like nothing else in Indian's lineup. But once the excitement faded, real-world ownership would start revealing whether this bold experiment was a long-term success or just a niche passion project. And that's where things get a little complicated. When the FTR was announced, expectations were high. Indian originally planned for early 2019 deliveries. Most dealers were told to expect bikes around February, but February came and went. Then that shifted to April, then May, and in reality, a lot of dealers didn't see inventory until late June or even early July. For a bike riding a wave of hype from racing dominance and a killer concept reveal, that delay mattered. Momentum is everything in a launch, and momentum was already cooling before customers even threw a leg over. When the first bikes hit the street, excitement was still there. The styling was still stunning. The engine still sounded incredible. The torque delivery was strong once you were moving. But early owners started to notice something. The engine didn't always behave like people expected. The engine in the FTR had to meet increasingly strict emission standards. And to do that, fueling was lean, especially at low RPM during warm-up. Cold starts could be rough. This bike needed extra time to warm up before it smoothed out. Some riders reported cold runnability issues, hesitation off idle, occasional stalling, and in some cases, misfire codes. Now, to be fair, not every bike experienced this, but it happened often enough that forums and dealer service departments were talking about it. Indian later released updated ECU calibrations, and they improved things, but many owners would tell you that they only marginally helped. The bike still felt like it wanted to run richer than emission regulations would allow. And that tension between performance character and regulatory compliance became part of FTR's early identity. Then there was the wheel setup. That 19-inch front and 18-inch rear absolutely nailed the flat track look. Visually, it was perfect, but in the real world of aggressive canyon carving, it limited high-performance street tire options. Turn-in wasn't as sharp as competitors who were running in 17-inch setups. Compared to something like a KTM 1290 Super Duke R or even a Yamaha MT-09, the FTR felt different. Not bad, just different. Some riders loved that planted, slightly slower steering feel, and others expected sport bike sharpness, and they didn't find it. Another real-world complaint was range. Because of its under-seat fuel tank design, which helped preserve the slim, flat-track silhouette, capacity was limited. Aggressive riding could put you looking for a gas station much sooner than expected. For a bike marketed as an American performance machine, it felt kind of like an odd compromise. And there was another challenge. Indian dealerships were, and still largely are, cruiser-focused environments. The FTR was different. It wasn't a bagger, it wasn't a touring machine, it wasn't a chrome-heavy heritage bike. It was an aggressive, urban performance-focused machine sitting next to Chiefs and Roadmasters. Now for some buyers, that was exciting. For others, it felt out of place. And when a product doesn't perfectly align with its retail ecosystem, sales can slow, even if the bike itself is good. By late 2019, the narrative was forming. The FTR wasn't a failure, but it wasn't exploding either. It was a little raw, a little quirky, slightly compromised, and definitely misunderstood. Some people called it flawed, others called it full of character, and sometimes those are the same thing. The FTR wasn't broken, but it wasn't perfect. And in a segment filled with razor-sharp European nakeds and high-tech Japanese performance machines, different can either make you iconic or make you niche. The question was, would Indian double down or would they adjust? And to their credit, they listened. By 2020 and 2021, the feedback was clear. The FTR had style, it had torque, and it had racing credibility, but it needed refinement. The 2019 FTR was still available as a carryover model in most dealers as late as 2021. The only 2020 model FTR that was ever produced was the odd FTR Rally. For the 2022 model, which came out in the summer of 21, Indian made the biggest change in the bike's short history. They gave it 17-inch wheels, front and rear. It sounds simple, but it was everything. The original 19-inch front and 18-inch rear nailed the flat track look, but they limited the bike's potential as a true street performance machine. Switching to 17s immediately expanded tire options, sharpened turn-in, increased cording confidence, and made it feel more planted under aggressive riding. Suddenly the FTR wasn't fighting its geometry, it was working with it. And that one change shifted the entire conversation. Indian didn't stop at the wheels. They also revived the suspension calibration and significantly adjusted the ride height and geometry to better suit pavement-focused riding. The result? The bike felt more composed mid-corner, more predictable at lean, less vague at high speed. It still wasn't trying to be a super sport, but it now made sense as a premium naked performance bike. The higher spec trims, especially the FTR Carbon R, started getting real respect. Fully adjustable Olin suspension, Brembo brakes, premium finishes. It wasn't just a styling exercise anymore. It was legitimately competitive in feel. Reviewers who had criticized the early models began revisiting it, and they admitted, this is the bike it should have been from the beginning. Compared to the hyper-polished European competitors, the FTR felt mechanical, alive, and for a lot of riders, that became the point. Here's what really happened in 22. The FTR stopped pretending to be a race replica, and it started embracing being a street performance bike inspired by racing. And that's a subtle but important difference. It wasn't trying to fool anyone anymore. It was carving its own lane, and ironically, just as the street bike found its footing, the race bike that inspired it was facing an uncertain future. The Street FTR finally felt sorted, sharper, more confident, and more complete. But the racing world that gave it credibility was changing. And when the rules change in racing, sometimes the legend that built your brand gets legislated out. For years, the Indian Scout FTR750 was the bike to beat in American flat track. And that's putting it mildly. They didn't just win occasionally, it controlled the series. Season after season, riders like Jared Meese kept stacking championships. Indian teams were consistently in the front, and in racing, dominance created two very different reactions. Fans of the brand, well, they love it. Everyone else, well, they start asking questions. Flat track has always had a balance between innovation and parity. You want manufacturers pushing technology, but you also need competitive racing, and the FTR750 was a purpose-built weapon. It wasn't derived from a street platform. It wasn't constrained by production numbers. It was engineered specifically to win under the rulebook that existed in 2016. And it did exactly that. Meanwhile, other manufacturers were adapting production-based engines to compete. That gap started to show. The grid began to feel predictable. And predictable racing doesn't grow the series. So the rules evolved. Weight adjustments, intake restrictions, and structural changes began reshaping the class. And eventually, the championship structure moved away from the environment the FTR750 was designed for. Now, some people say it was banned, others say it was simply legislated out by changing the class structure. However you frame it, the result was the same. The era of the FTR750 at the top was over, and that mattered, because the entire Street FTR narrative was built on the idea of flat track dominance. Win on Sunday, sell on Monday. But if Sunday changes, Monday starts to look a little different. For years, Indian could point to the dirt oval and say, this is where the DNA comes from. But as the racing landscape shifted, the halo began to dim. The Street Indian FTR1200 had already gone through growing pains, and it already found its footing with a 17-inch wheel update. And here's what makes this chapter so interesting. Right as the Street FTR became the best version of itself, the race platform that inspired it was stepping off center stage. It's almost poetic. The bike that was born from dominance outlived the dominance that created it. Racing didn't kill the FTR, but the shift in racing changed its identity. And once that halo fades, the bike has to survive purely on sales, market fit, and long-term demand. And by 2024, Indian had a decision to make. By 2022, the Indian FTR1200 was finally sorted. The 17-inch wheels transformed it, the geometry made sense, and the higher trims, well, they felt premium. The bike had found its identity, but sometimes finding your identity just isn't enough. The naked bike segment is brutally competitive. European manufacturers refine performance platforms every few years. Japanese brands deliver insane value for the money. In Indian, well, Indian's core customer has been traditionally cruiser and touring riders. The FTR lived in a strange middle ground. It required a very specific buyer, someone who wanted American performance, flat track style, torque-heavy character, and something different from the norm. And different doesn't always equal high volume. With the evolution of American flat track, the FTR750 era had ended. The constant reinforcement of championship wins was no longer front and center. And without that racing dominance fueling the narrative, the FTR stood on its own. No longer the bike inspired by the current champ, just the FTR. Then came 2024. No huge farewell campaign. No massive limited edition send-off. Indian, under Polaris, made the decision to stop production. And just like that, one of the boldest modern American performance bikes quietly left the lineup. Dealers began selling through the remaining inventory. A few brand new bikes, like this one right over here, still linger on showroom floors. And that was it. A production run that started with massive hype quietly ended. So here's the real question. Was the FTR a failure? It didn't outsell cruisers, it didn't dominate the naked segment, and it had early issues and it had quirks. But it also did something incredibly important. It proved that Indian could build a modern liquid-cooled performance-focused motorcycle that wasn't rooted in nostalgia. It proved they could win championships. It proved they could take risks. And in today's market, risk-taking is rare. This is the Indian FTR1200, born from one of the most dominant race bikes in modern flat track history, launched with huge expectations, criticized, refined, respected, and ultimately discontinued. It wasn't perfect, but it wasn't supposed to be. And maybe that's why it matters, because motorcycles that try to please everyone rarely become memorable. So what do you think? Was the FTR misunderstood? Or did Indian just miss the mark? Let me know in the comments below. Before we go, I want to say a thank you to Zacco Sports Center for allowing me use of their space and allowing me use of their collection of FTRs. And if you enjoy deep dives like this down memory lane, make sure you subscribe for more content like this. If there's something you'd like to see me cover in a future video, also let me know in the comments. Don't forget to enjoy the ride, and as always, we'll see you in the next one. Whew, holy crap.